another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Portrait of an ordinary woman, out for another normal day in her normal world. Little does she realize that she is not the focus of this narrative. Portrait of a semi-normal man, immersed in the world of the unusual. This man is soon to depart for what he thinks is a pleasure trip of exploration. Little does he realize that he is journeying into the very center of the Twilight Zone. Rochester, New York. It's where I hang my proverbial hat. It's got a rich culture for someone into sci-fi and horror like I am. Been a fan of the Twilight Zone for a long time. So imagine my reaction when I was doing some casual research on Rod Serling, finding out he died right here in Rochester. During coronary bypass surgery following a heart attack at his Cayuga Lake home in Interlaken. He died at Strong Memorial Hospital, only a few miles away. After looking up his burial site, it turned out it was only 70 miles southeast. Spring had finally arrived in Rochester, so I decided to get out of my cramped little cave and go searching for Serling. First stop, Strong Memorial. There wasn't a lot to do there, only to witness the place where Rod Serling departed the earth. After a brief visit, I was off to the east. I headed east toward Victor. He then gave me directions to find the throughway. Once I found the throughway, that's when it really got weird. At first, all the signs made perfect sense. Albany, New York City, right where I should be. Seeing the Finger Lakes approaching, I knew I was getting close. When I saw the sign for a place I couldn't hope to pronounce, I had to wonder where I was. When the sign for Manchester showed up, I knew something was really wrong. How the hell did I end up in England? When the next sign read a city in Italy, I figured it was time to get off of this throughway. Whatever sort of interdimensional highway this was, I'd had enough. After getting off that translocating throughway, I found myself in what appeared to be rural New York, and quickly approaching a small, backwater, out-of-the-way small town. It was then I remembered a cardinal rule of the Twilight Zone. Never stop in the small, rural, out-of-the-way backwoods towns. I kept on going, didn't even slow down. Continuing on past that little Sleepy Hollow, I came across a fork in the road. Someone must have been littering. Ooh, I must be in the Twilight Zone. That was a terrible joke. The next town presented a quandary. The highway split in two. My directions had no mention of this. Felt like someone was trying to divert me. Choosing a direction at random, I found myself way off track. There was certainly no mention of a waterfall anywhere near Interlaken, though I will admit it was damn pretty. Continuing deeper into what felt like Washington Irving and H.P. Lovecraft's communal wet dream, I found myself apparently in Greece. It was there I came across a quaint roadside diner. I was quite famished, but then I remembered another cardinal rule. Never go into a diner in the Twilight Zone. So I took off out of there. By some happy coincidence, Cornell University was there too. Rod's wake had been at Cornell after he died in Rochester. It seemed a little much to cart his body all the way to the Mediterranean for a wake, but he was a celebrity after all. Realizing that I was way off course, I started backtracking, finding myself on the shores of Cayuga Lake, namesake of Cayuga Productions, responsible for the Twilight Zone. It was here that Rod Serling had that first heart attack that would pave the path to his death. Eventually returning to that little devil town that led me astray, I took the other path, which led straight to Interlaken, Rod's resting place and namesake of Interlaken Productions, responsible for The Loner, a far less successful show of Rod's starring another dead guy, Lloyd Bridges. At first it was hard to believe that Rod Serling would wind up in a tiny village like this, until I remembered. Tiny villages comprise the very heart of the Twilight Zone. When I saw the street sign, I knew I was close. Finally finding Lakeview Cemetery, I thought my journey was complete. Rod had one more cruel twist in store. Welcome to the land that spring forgot. The place was buried in 3 feet of snow. I didn't stand a chance of finding Rod and all that crap. I returned to Rochester, defeated. My journey had been for naught. So I went back a week later and found him. I was surprised his stone was so low. I nearly tripped over it looking for him. Nice try, Rod. I paid my respects to the man, thanking him for the impact he made on television. I also got a shot of his wife, buried right next to him. Always give a man's wife her due attention. This time, I returned triumphant. The search for Serling was a success. Portrait of a pretentious blowhard, failingly attempting to imitate an iconic television program. Huh? He willfully ventured into the fifth dimension, seeking the source of the land of shadow and substance. Yeah, so? By seeking the source, he sought to become it. By finding the source, the torch has been rekindled and passed on. Only a host is allowed to break the fourth wall like he did, and only a host is able to hear the narration. Really? I'm the new host of the Twilight Zone? The Seeker's wish has been granted. He will forever be immersed in the absurd world of science fiction and horror. But his wish is fulfilled in the letter of the law, if not the spirit. For he made a critical factual error in his journey. Rod Serling's wife, Carol Serling, is still alive. His fatal mistake has delegated his second-rate skills to a place that deserves them. He will forever be the host of Tales from the Dark Side. No! One set! Crappy acting! How's that for a fatal twist?